I'm Maya, 28F, and I need to get this off my chest because what happened at Thanksgiving this year has left my entire extended family divided. My parents refusing to speak to me, and my sister threatening legal action. But honestly, I'd do it all over again. Let me start from the beginning. Growing up, my sister Amber, 31F, was always the star. She was pretty popular, charming, the kind of girl who could walk into a room and everyone would turn to look. Me? I was the quiet one, the bookworm, the serious one who didn't need as much attention. At least that's what my parents told themselves. Amber got dance lessons, cheerleading uniforms, the latest phones, designer clothes for prom. I got hand-me-downs and library books. When I asked for piano lessons, Dad said we couldn't afford it. 2 months later, Amber got a brand new car for her 17th birthday. I remember standing in the driveway, watching her scream and jump into his arms, and thinking, when is it my turn? It never came. But here's the thing, I didn't complain. I got straight A's. I worked part-time at a grocery store starting at 15. I saved every penny. I applied to scholarships like my life depended on it. Because I knew, if I wanted to go to college, I'd have to make it happen myself. When I was 16, my parents sat me down for the talk. Mom looked uncomfortable. Dad cleared his throat like he was about to deliver a speech. Maya, we know we haven't been able to give you everything Amber got, Dad said. But we want you to know we've been saving. For college. We started a fund when you were born, and by the time you graduate high school, there should be about $40,000 in there. I remember my heart almost exploding. $40,000. That could cover state school tuition, books, maybe even housing. Really? I whispered. Mom smiled. Really? You've worked so hard, honey. You deserve it. I cried. I actually cried. For the first time in years, I felt like they saw me. I worked even harder after that. I graduated valedictorian. I got into a great state university with a partial scholarship. Between the scholarship, my savings, and that $40,000, I'd be able to graduate debt-free. I was so proud. 3 weeks before I was supposed to start college, Amber got engaged. She'd been dating Chad for 8 months. He was 33, worked in finance. I still don't know what that means. And proposed with a ring that cost more than my car. The wedding planning started immediately. Amber wanted everything. And I mean everything. Destination wedding in Mexico. 200 guests. Designer dress. Live band. Fireworks. Open bar. The works. I was sitting at the kitchen table filling out housing forms when I overheard them talking in the living room. We can't afford this, Amber, Dad said, but his voice was gentle, pleading. I know, Daddy, but it's my wedding. This is the most important day of my life. I've dreamed about this since I was a little girl. What about a smaller wedding? Something more reasonable. Amber started crying. You don't want me to be happy. You've never supported me. You always liked Maya more because she's so perfect and I'm just the screw-up. Right? This was objectively insane. But it worked. No, baby, that's not true. Then prove it. There was a long pause. Then Mom's voice. Quiet. What about the college fund? My blood went cold. What about it? Dad asked. It's just sitting there. Maya has scholarships. She's been saving. She'll be fine. But Amber needs this. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. I ran into the living room. No, I said. No, that's my money. You promised. Dad wouldn't look at me. Amber's tears had magically dried up, and she was staring at me with this cold, calculating look. Mom sighed. Maya, don't be selfish. You'll still be able to go to college. You're resourceful. But your sister only gets married once. Hopefully, I muttered. Excuse me? Amber snapped. You've known him for 8 months. Don't you dare judge my relationship. This is my college fund. Dad finally spoke. We've made our decision. Amber needs this more than you do. Just like that. 28 years of saving. Gone. Handed over to fund a wedding that cost more than most people's houses. I moved out that night. Stayed with my best friend's family for 2 weeks until the dorms opened. I took out loans. A lot of loans. I worked 2 jobs while taking a full course load. I lived on ramen and dollar store coffee. There were nights I cried myself to sleep from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Amber's wedding was everywhere on social media. The dress, the venue, the honeymoon in Bali. My parents didn't even help me move into my dorm. But here's what they didn't know. I kept every receipt, every loan document, every email, every text message. And I waited. Fast forward to now. I'm 28. I graduated with honors, got my master's degree, and landed a 6-figure job at a tech company. I paid off my loans last year. All $120,000 of them. Amber, her marriage lasted 3 years. Chad cheated on her with his assistant. Shocker. And they had a messy, expensive divorce. She moved back in with my parents 2 years ago and hasn't left. She works part-time at a boutique and constantly posts on Facebook about rebuilding and finding herself. My parents, meanwhile, have been struggling financially. Dad had to postpone retirement. They downsized their house. Mom mentioned they might need to sell the car. And yet, they kept acting like everything was fine. Like they hadn't completely screwed me over. I went low contact for years. Minimal texts. No visits. They'd occasionally guilt-trip me about abandoning the family. But I held firm. Until this year. Mom called me crying in October. Maya, please. We haven't seen you in so long. It's Thanksgiving. Family is supposed to be together on Thanksgiving. I'll think about it. Amber misses you. I almost laughed. I seriously doubt that. Please, honey. For me. I thought about it for a long time. And then I had an idea. Okay. I said. I'll come. I showed up at 2 p.m. Right when everyone was arriving. The house was full. My parents, Amber, my aunt and uncle, 2 cousins, my grandmother, and a few family friends. Everyone seemed surprised to see me. Maya. Mom hugged me tightly, like she hadn't been complicit in ruining my early 20s. I'm so glad you came. Amber gave me a tight smile. Hey, stranger. Hey. Dinner was awkward. I barely spoke, just observed. Amber dominated the conversation, as always, talking about her new business venture. A pyramid scheme, obviously, and how she was finally in a good place. My grandmother kept asking me about my job. Oh, it's fine, I said vaguely. Just fine? Your mother said you're doing very well. I'm getting by. Dad jumped in. Maya's always been modest. She's doing great. We're very proud. I smiled. Thanks, Dad. After dinner, we moved to the living room for dessert. That's when I made my move. Hey, everyone, I said, standing up. I just want to say something. The room went quiet. Mom looked nervous. Maya, sweetie, maybe now's not the time. No, I think it's the perfect time. I pulled out my phone. See, I've been thinking a lot about family lately, about what it means to support each other, to be there for each other. I opened my photos. 7 years ago, my parents promised me $40,000 for college. Money they'd been saving since I was born. Money that was supposed to help me start my life. Amber's face went pale. 3 weeks before I started school, they gave it all to Amber. For her wedding. Maya, Dad started. Let me finish. My voice was steady, calm. They told me I'd be fine, that I was resourceful, that Amber needed it more. I swiped to the first image, a photo of my loan documents. So I took out $120,000 in student loans. Swipe. I worked 2 jobs while taking 18 credits a semester. Swipe. I lived on $30 a week for food. Swipe. 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 Photos of my tiny dorm room. My eviction notice from an apartment I couldn't afford. My hospital bill from when I passed out from exhaustion and malnutrition. The room was dead silent. Meanwhile, I continued. Amber had a $75,000 wedding in Mexico. I pulled up her Instagram, all the photos she'd posted. The dress, the venue, the fireworks. The marriage lasted 3 years. Amber stood up. You have no right. Sit down. Something in my voice made her obey. I paid off those loans last year. All of them. By myself. No help. And you know what I realized? I looked directly at my parents. You stole my future to fund her party. Mom was crying. We thought you'd understand. Understand? You chose her over me. You always chose her over me. That's not true, Dad said. Then tell me, when's my wedding fund? Where's my down payment gift? Where's my you deserve this moment? Silence. I turned to my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, everyone watching. They made me feel guilty for being upset. They called me selfish. They said family helps each other. I looked back at my parents. But you were never my family. You were hers. All hell broke loose. Amber started screaming that I was a spiteful bitch who couldn't let go of the past. My aunt was horrified, demanding to know if this was true. Dad tried to defend himself. We were going to pay you back. When? I shot back. You've had 7 years. Mom just kept crying. My grandmother, bless her, looked at my parents with pure disappointment. How could you do that to her? We thought. You didn't think. You played favorites and now you're paying for it. I grabbed my coat. Maya, wait. Mom reached for me, pulled away. I came here to give you a chance to apologize, to acknowledge what you did. But you can't even do that. We didn't know it was that bad. You didn't care that it was that bad. I walked to the door. If you ever want a relationship with me, you know what you need to do. I left. My phone exploded. Amber sent me a 47 text rant calling me every name in the book, threatening to sue me for defamation. Good luck with that. And claiming I ruined Thanksgiving. My dad sent a long email about how I ambushed them and humiliated the family. My mom left a voicemail sobbing about how she did her best. But here's what else happened. My grandmother called and said she was proud of me. My aunt sent me $5,000 with a note. This isn't enough, but it's something. My cousins reached out to say they had no idea, and they were sorry. Even some of my parents' friends contacted me privately to say I was right. Amber, according to my cousin, had a full meltdown and moved out of my parents' house. Temporarily, I'm sure. My parents have sent multiple messages begging me to talk this out like adults. I haven't responded. I know some of you will say I should have handled it privately, that I embarrassed them in front of the family. But they had 7 years to make it right. 7 years to apologize. 7 years to acknowledge what they did. They didn't. So yeah, I showed up with the receipts. And I'd do it again. A lot of people are asking if my parents have apologized yet. The answer is no. My dad sent an email that was basically, I'm sorry you felt hurt, but you have to understand our position. That's not an apology. That's a justification. My mom keeps leaving voicemails about how family is supposed to forgive. Amber is apparently telling everyone I'm lying and that the money was a gift, not a loan. Which makes 0 sense, but okay. My grandmother, though, she stopped talking to my parents until they make this right. I love that woman. Edit 2. For everyone asking, yes, I'm doing fine. Better than fine, actually. I have a great job, amazing friends, and a therapist who's helped me work through a lot of this. Cutting toxic people out of your life isn't easy, but sometimes it's necessary. And no, I don't regret it. Not for a second. Okay, so a lot has happened. First, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. I didn't let them in, but we talked through the door. Dad said they want to make things right. I said, how? He offered to pay me $10,000. I laughed. You stole $40,000. I paid $120,000 in loans, and you're offering me $10,000? Mom started crying again. It's all we have. Then you should have thought about that before you gave it to Amber. They left. Second, Amber sent me a Facebook message. I have her blocked everywhere else, saying she wants to talk like adults. I didn't respond. Third, and this is the big one, my grandmother changed her will. She left everything to me. The house, the savings, everything. She didn't tell my parents yet, but she told me. She said, "You're the only one who deserves it." I cried for an hour. So yeah, that's where things stand. I'm done with my parents. I'm done with Amber. I'm moving forward. And for the first time in my life, I feel free. Thanks for listening, Reddit. You've been more supportive than my actual family ever was. To everyone saying I'm bitter or holding a grudge, maybe I am. But I earned that grudge. I spent my entire childhood being told I wasn't as important as my sister. I spent my college years drowning in debt while she lived her best life on my money. I gave them every chance to make it right. They chose not to. So now I'm choosing me. And that's not selfish. That's survival. If you're in a similar situation, where your family constantly puts you last, I want you to know,